Good morning, everybody. It is Happy Hump Day. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal. Let's start you out with on the good foot. Hopefully it is the good foot. We have Chris Mulcahy in town and in the Live Impact studio right now as we check in with you and give us the good word.
My left foot's the good foot. By the way.
Are you left-handed?
No,
or left-footed.
Left-footed technically. So like when I skateboard and snowboard, I'm technically known as Goofy.
Goofy,
that's,
yes. I used to snowboard too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Back in the day.
So just saying, prideful of that. So go left-footers. We have really a subtle change today, but it is a change nonetheless. I want to show you where we've been over the last 3 days. We got lazy.
What?
We just kept on doing Control V, pace, 81 degrees 3 days in a row, 83 for around the Charlotte area, and 80 degrees up around the Salisbury area. But I want to get right to it. We're actually dealing with some active rain further off towards the north, and our futurecast is pointing to that activity is going to linger for a good portion of this morning, and it's also going to jog its way into the afternoon as well. So it just depends where you are, mainly in the mountains of the foothills, that you're going to be seeing that on and off rain throughout the course of this morning. And I do think at times that rain could be heavier, especially with the chance for some thunderstorms. We're primarily seeing that really over in Tennessee, but there is still going to be that potential. So I just want everyone to know about that. Here I'm going to bring up the active radar to show you what's happening right now at this moment. The heaviest rain, as I mentioned, well to the north, and we're going to scroll up there. Hold on one sec. Nope. Sorry, I don't have my active mouse. All right, here we go. So you can see a little bit of light rain that is mainly off towards north of I-40, but some much heavier rain is currently happening over in Tennessee, and it's about to push its way further off towards the east. Now, what's going to happen is this gets a little bit closer and past the mountains, it's going to weaken. But anyone that lives north of I-40, you're going to have a chance for anywhere a light to moderate rain shower over the next several hours. The ones that live a little bit further down towards the south, around Cleveland County, Burke County, you're going to see on and off rain, but it's really by right around noon that you're going to have a better potential for all this stuff. Where the best rain chances over the near term are going to be today, tomorrow and tomorrow night, and then Saturday and Saturday night. After that, you kind of have some weak sauce chances and kind of like an undefined late-term pattern. So I want to get right to our futurecast. So I already showed you the rain. Watch what happens to this rain as it pushes to the east. That one band to the north weakens as it passes the mountains. Then the second round intensifies as it rides up over the mountains. This is actually called orographic lifting. So when you have a lot of moisture that's driven up the slopes of the mountains, it can actually condense and form more rain. This is one of the biggest problems that happened with Helene. When that system rolled through, it was driving a tremendous amount of moisture at a fast pace, which was condensing to its maximum on the mountaintops. But once this system gets a little bit further east, it starts to fall apart. The timings come back a little bit, but all in all, we are anticipating any time between about 2 to 6 o'clock that you can have showers passing the 321 corridor, but then they'll fade out once they get a little bit closer to Charlotte. So there's 7 o'clock, and here I'm going to backtrack briefly. You see that line pretty much dissipate into nothing by 6 o'clock. So just note that Charlotte does have a slight chance for rain, but all in all, it is trending to be a little bit drier. By tomorrow, could have a little bit of patchy fog, but our rain chances pop up at the usual time, about 1 to 3, and isolated shower storms possible. But yet again, further to the west of the mountains, where we see most of the activity. That's a little bit close to the center of the lift and some fronts. And we will have a chance for some thunderstorms to jog into, I would say, the early to mid-evening hours. Charlotte staying dry, though, most of the day besides an isolated shower or storm. Your Friday, staying dry. Heading into Saturday, that's where things are going to change up big time. Because what's going to happen is this front. So this cold front is going to push its way in from the northwest. And by 4 p.m. on Saturday, it's going to be and the eastern side of Tennessee. The prefrontal boundary is likely going to be the mountains at that point. So if I were to say the best bet for timing, it's really anywhere between about 4 and I think 9 o'clock that you have some developing storms through Charlotte. Then the system will pass and this front drifts down to the south, keeping some rain around for your Sunday, especially around Columbia, down to the beaches. And the big question mark about this heading into next week is if this front skedaddles and gets out of here or if it stalls. If it stalls out nearby, we're looking at a cloudier forecast forecast and some constant rain, especially for South Carolina. If it moves like it is here, those clouds will retreat a little bit earlier, high pressure system rolls in, and then all in all, it's going to be a good looking one. So that's just kind of a look at what you can expect in the short term. In the meantime, we're also checking out what our long range patterns are going to do for the jet stream. What you're actually looking at right here is the potential for our next tropical system. This brings us to next Wednesday. This little guy that you're seeing right in here, that potentially could be either tropical storm or Hurricane Gabrielle. Now, this right here is what's called a Bermuda high, and it rotates in a clockwise manner. And this is the one that most likely drives those systems that curved. You know how it starts to head towards the United States and curves back out? The closer that this is to the United States, the better chance you have for this to curve back into, say, the Carolinas. But since this is positioned so far to the east, there's a good chance that this catches it back out to sea, and then you're good. What happened with Aaron, it was supposed to be a little bit further east, but that high nudged a little bit further west, and then that changed up the game. So there's still a lot that can happen. It's still not until day about 8 to 14 that we even have something to worry about, this tropical wave that you can see just a 70% chance over the next 7 days. That brings us into the weekend that we could have this. So it's not going to affect the 7-day forecast, but it's coming to the time of the year. Officially next Wednesday is the exact peak of hurricane season. In September into early October, all it takes is a low pressure system that decides to go visit the Gulf and then move its way into the Atlantic, and next thing you know, it turns into a big bad storm. So I don't see any of that happening over the next 7 days, but that's definitely something we have to watch closely, that all of a sudden I show you a 7-day on Monday and it's completely different because of a tropical system come Friday. But again, this is not the case in scenario here. Instead, it's a tale of two seasons. It's still technically summer on your calendars, but it will actually start really feeling like summer. Like I'm talking about peak middle of July comes Saturday and Friday. Friday looks to be sunnier, a real feel around 95, and then once this system passes that cold front that I was showing you, we see 91 go to the lower 80s to even the upper 70s with some drier air heading into the middle of next week. So some good news there. Starts to feel a lot more humid. Today's still a decent day, mix of cloud and sunshine. Just some of us are going to get some rain on and off throughout the day.
Whether it's summer or fall, football season starts.
I know.
Officially this week, we have an NFL-related kickoff party here at WCNC Spirit Day.
I'm in my jersey.
And that's why
Nice.
Carleen is decked.
I'm not just being casual for funsies. It's
Hey.
Spirit Day
Do you
here
know-
at WCNC Charlotte.
I
We're loud
like
and
it.
proud.
Representing the Bills.
the bill, all reds. I like the all reds.
All
I know,
reds are
it is-
good.
yeah,
All reds.
it looks good on you.
Thank you.
I don't have any Bills
You
on
have a
my
team?
fantasy football
No?
team, but I have my last draft tonight, so we'll see how,
How
that
many
works
are you
out.
in?
I'm in 3.
Oh,
Three.
my goodness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Greg is the same
Wow.
one. He's in 3.
Yep, I have my friend league that is the draft tonight. It's a 14-team league, and I've been in it for over a decade.
14's a
Oh,
lot.
wow.
Yeah, it's
You
rough.
ever
That's a
win?
lot.
Huh?
of people.
Do you ever win?
No. I finished in second.
for the fun.
I finished in third, and second the last 3 years. I finished in second 4 times. I just never win. Something happens. But you know what? At least I
Yeah.
get my money back at
You
least
get
most
exactly.
years.
You get a little share.
Yeah, so not too bad. And we have a WCNC league here too.
Yes. Yep,
We had our
okay.
in-person draft. My team's the best. And then some
see.
local friends as well. So yeah, no, I love my Patriots. I love football, but fantasy football is my obsession.
That's your jam.
Next to weather. I love it. Yeah.
But you're a stat man.
Yeah.
That's true. I was
Stat
gonna say-
man. And that's the best thing about
That-
fantasy
right.
football is that you can literally take so many stats. I love looking at patterns, so I do pretty well with it.
Oh, very
Except
good.
when it comes down to luck. I'm not lucky.
winning. I've got a puffy Dolphins jacket.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's in the truck. I'm going to bring it in for our little NFL luncheon that
For the
we have
party?
here. Yeah, I wasn't going to wear it, this big old jacket.
Why not?
I know. I actually tried to
People
sell
would
it,
love it.
a number of times, but
What?
yeah, I think it is a collector's item at
Of
this
course
point.
it is.
Yeah, it's from the. Do I want to say Merino days?
Is it?
Oh, then it's
is it,
definitely a hot commodity.
I was
And
gonna
it's in
say,
good shape,
is it a
too.
starter? Does anyone remember the starter
Yes,
jackets?
Yes. Starter
No,
jackets are
it's not
kind
a
of coming
starter
back
jacket.
now.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh, it had the one center pocket. They were
Yes.
all the
Oh,
kids
I
had
do
them
not
at
have
one
that.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I do not have, but
Really cute.
you know,
Yeah,
I'll
they
wear
are.
this one last time and then maybe try to sell it again.
Okay.
You know. All right. Well, happy fall.
Happy fall, y'all.
Feeling like
then
summer.
then happy fall.
Yeah. One last taste of summer. All right, Chris, thank you so much.
Of course.
As we come back out here in the Live Impact studio on WCNC Plus, we are going to take a quick 2-minute break because after that, a live special meeting happening with our local leaders because of transit safety. We'll get to that live after the break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back to Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Well, in light of a young woman who was stabbed to death on a blue light link rail that happened almost 2 weekends ago, now Charlotte's mayor is calling for a special meeting to discuss transit safety. This is among city council members. Let's go to this live now. It's happening virtually as we're bringing this to you on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
An activity both within rail car and bus vehicle. Dispatchers constantly surveil transit police dispatch and report out events while providing information that may assist CMPD from our CAT security and PSS teams. Customer reporting systems such as what is provided on the CATS app, call buttons on the train, blue light phones, allow the customer and the public to interact with security policing systems, facilitating communication real time as events unfold. The community serves as a force multiplier, bringing attention to incidents and responders, potentially initiating even quicker response. Initiatives such as CATS Connect and the Bus Ambassador Program allows CATS to engage with unhoused and persons in crisis so as to bring resources from community partners that may be available to assist their needs. Next slide. So during my 5 months serving the CATS organization, I've come to recognize internal and external challenges. Internally, we are in the process of evaluating security staffing and the ideal baselines of security personnel truly required based on the magnitude and the complexity of what we need to surveil and protect. Fare collection and fare evasion strategies are being reviewed as there is a recognition to fare collection and validating fares on the train and bus as first-line security control. Therefore, fare validation will be decoupled from security and become an operational administrative function backed up by our security forces. This will allow security teams to do security while dedicated fare collection teams maintain a consistent presence on our system, fostering awareness and developing a culture that you must pay to get on the system. This strategy is consistent with other transit systems throughout the United States. The process of evaluating infrastructure and security systems is an ever-evolving process, making sure that basic controls such as lighting and signage are in place, in addition to evaluating camera coverages, avoiding dead spots, and updating camera technologies to achieve optimum surveillance capabilities. This is an ever-evolving an ever-evolving evaluation that occurs to make sure that we're truly seeing clear lines of sight and that there are no dead spots. With respect to external challenges, we cannot have an honest discussion about security without talking about mental health. Our transit system is a microcosm of the community we serve, and the society as a whole is experiencing a mental health crisis. During my tenure with New York City's Bridges and Tunnels, or as you may know, the MTA, I had the opportunity and privilege to work with behavioral specialists from Columbia University and New York City's Health Department on behalf of suicide prevention. One thing I learned from this experience is that a combination of impulsivity and hopelessness is a dangerous combination where a suicide can be triggered at any time. This very same dynamic can occur with not only those who do harm to themselves, but from those who intend to do harm to others. This is what happened on that night Irina was assaulted and ultimately killed. Without behavioral cues or intelligence warning security a potentially unbalanced individual, the ability and probability of successful intervention is unlikely. Next slide. So there are 7 key elements associated with our security strategy: security support teams, training and procedures, fare policy, fare enforcement, system condition, technology, social challenges, and education. These all lead to desired outcomes when combined in the aggregate: enhanced security visibility, we're decreasing response times, reducing fare evasion, and we're supporting a safe and welcoming environment while also countering the perception that public transportation is unsafe. In your appendix, there's a series of tactics that are associated with this strategy that help bring all of these elements together. I invite you to take a look at those tactics and the detailed information that's associated with those tactics.
Next slide, please. Okay. So a few key takeaways from our view on safety and security throughout the system. One is it is key to us, the new approach, the transit policing model. It is not enough to approach this from a corporate security standpoint. The transit system is an ever-growing and evolving system. It's a large system. It is not one location to be guarded at the front door. Inside of the new approach, again, since December 14th, 2024, PSS has been our sole provider. The contract, as I mentioned, allows for additional staffing or more staffing. It represents a large spend. And Lee and his team have been working tirelessly to staff up. The contract currently allows for approximately 218 personnel. They are currently at 186 personnel. And they are continuing to hire with the goal to fully staff up, if possible, by the end of this year. Now, I will say when we think about staffing, hiring is difficult always. But one of the elements to the new transit policing model is more training associated with the personnel. So as those folks are hired, they're also going through training. I'll also note that when we think about the personnel that are allowed, that PSS is bringing through the contract, there are 3 levels of personnel. The first level are certified law enforcement officers. The second level are armed security, and the third level are unarmed security. So again, each of those receive a variety of training, both specific to transit and then also associated with performing their functions as law enforcement or security guards. The second thing is we will continue to evaluate our security staffing needs. As PSS staffs up, we will also at the same time be evaluating total number of staff necessary. That is an ongoing evaluation. It never stops. The transit system continues to evolve, possibly grow in the future, and our needs and staffing needs will be continuously evaluated to determine the appropriate level of staffing. Secondly, fare collection. When we think about fare collection, we think about 3 primary areas. The first area is fare policy. What are our policies around fares, around how we collect fares, around fare media, right? How do you pay your fare? So CATS has, over the last 8 months, been conducting an extensive fare policy review. We are prepared in the next few months to bring that forward to the MTC with some initial recommendations. One thing I will say today is we do know right now, when we think about fare policy, we offer discounted fares based on age. Older folks, younger folks. When we look at best practices, we do believe there should be discounted fares for folks need-based, for veterans, for other groups rather than just based on age. We also understand that even with discounted fares, there should always be a fare media, a ticket of some sort involved, right? That allows us to be able to validate those tickets, check those tickets, even if the fare is reduced, even possibly down to 0. There should still be fare media or a ticket involved so that our staff, our ticket checkers, our fare inspectors is what they're called, can check those tickets. Fare technology, we talked about it earlier today. What we have seen is many transit systems deploy ticket validation. That can be deployed in many different ways. Along the light rail line, for example, there could be, and what we're looking at are ticket validators on the platform. So what that means is you buy your ticket, on the platform, you scan that ticket to validate it, and now it's valid to ride. That is important for a couple reasons. One, it allows security to visually see that people are paying, right? Because they must validate a ticket on the platform. And one thing we saw with the extensive use of the cell phone, the ticket on the cell phone, we don't know, when everyone went to the ticket vending machine on the platform and bought a ticket, it was easy to tell who didn't. It was the person who didn't go to the TVM. We don't know now. People walk straight onto the train and their ticket's on their cell phone. And so we need a visual cue for our security so that they understand and they have a better information as people are boarding. The second thing about ticket validation is it is a visual cue to the riders that they need to do something to buy a ticket, validate that ticket, that transit is not free in Charlotte. Ticket validation can also be conducted via handheld ticket validators. That would be a strategy more appropriate for bus. It's not possible to deploy ticket validation machines at every bus stop across our service area, but it is possible to have ticket validators handheld with the fare enforcement group. The last is fare enforcement. Simply, as Eric said, those folks who are out in the system every day checking tickets. They're moving throughout the system, bus and rail, and they're checking tickets to gain compliance or to have security deal with folks who refuse to pay their fare. Thirdly is investing in infrastructure. Again, when we think about infrastructure, it's things like cameras, it's things like software systems using AI, possibly to be able to detect threats. We've had conversations with an AI vendor who can utilize our camera feed to identify handguns, firearms. One of the issues we saw, and we think that AI will continue to develop and have useful applications for us. One of the things we saw as we talked to that vendor is their software was not at a point where it could identify fixed blade weapons yet. And so there are still some gaps with that in the industry, but we know that that's evolving and will be a tool that we can look at. The other thing I'll say on infrastructure is we have just recently completed a comprehensive condition assessment review of our facilities. So when we think about infrastructure and those transit facilities, we know that there are some things we need to do at the transit facilities from an operator standpoint, from a passenger standpoint. There's also things we need to do when we think about design and upgrades from a security standpoint. Physical environment is very, very important, is a very important element to security. And the CTC is, as an example, being built 30 years ago, it needs a refresh from a customer standpoint, but also from a security standpoint and how that facility is laid out, how it is, how it operates, things like lighting, other things as well. And then the last thing I'll say is we do know that external issues that are outside of our control will continue to present challenges. I guess the way I'm going to sum up that bullet point there is we can't do it alone. We work with our partners, and we want to continue expanding those partnerships. The DA's office, nonprofits, Center City Partners, others, social services providers, the county, Mecklenburg County, CMPD, all of those things. All of those groups, we work together, and we want to continue strengthening our partnership because these issues are not issues that can be solved by one agency alone, certainly not your transit agency. So we look forward to continuing to build our partnerships. One example.
And you've been watching live the special transit meeting for leaders after that stabbing that happened 2 weekends ago as they try to find solutions to improve safety on our public transit system. Right now, we're going to take a quick 2-minute break. We have a special guest right after the break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. And welcome back to Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, just after 9:30 on a Wednesday morning. Thanks for watching every morning from 9 to 11. I'm Jane Monreal. We bring you live feeds as they happen, like that event that we will get you back to on public transit safety, as well as important discussions like the latest scams. With online shopping at an all-time high, scammers are finding new ways to target consumers right at their doorstep. So this morning we're joined by Juliana O'Rourke from the Better Business Bureau to discuss two critical scams that could cost you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars and put your personal information at risk. Juliana, thanks for joining us here this morning. Yeah, so all right, let's talk about the first scam here. When it comes to delivery scams, what exactly are you talking about?
Yes. So delivery scams are very prominent during the holiday season, but as you mentioned, online shopping has really skyrocketed the last couple years. I know I have lots of things just on Amazon, subscribe and save,
I have so
and
much,
you know,
yep.
things just show up all the time. And so delivery scams have become really prominent, and there's a couple different angles that scammers use when it comes to delivery scams. So first of all, you might get a text message that says, you know, some random information about how your package is not going to show up, it's delayed, it's here, there, wherever, and they want you to click on a link. And if you click on that link, they're looking for either your personal information or your financial information. So, you know, we always encourage people not to respond to unsolicited text messages. If you think there might be something wrong, go check the actual tracking information that you received. But that is one way that scammers are essentially working with these delivery scams, if you will.
So if they get this text, what should people be looking for? Because it kind of looks legit on your phone.
Yeah, sometimes they look legit. Sometimes they're very nefarious where they don't really have a lot of information. It just says, oh, your delivery can be delivered. We don't have the right address. We don't have, you know, this information or that information. And here's a link. But it doesn't say, you know, which provider it is. It doesn't say what package. Sometimes it might include a number. Sometimes it doesn't. And so those should be red flags. Also, most companies don't just text you unsolicited like that. If there's an issue, they're going to email you, you know, or you would have probably seen in some other way that you know, there was going to be an issue, but you don't really often get text messages randomly like that.
Yeah, okay. So I read one person lost maybe $200
Yeah.
on a scam involving their Zelle payment. And that's a cash
Yes.
payment, right? So what had happened there?
Yeah, so you want to be careful anytime you use a Zelle or any peer-to-peer type payments. You basically should treat that as cash. So if you're going to send money to anybody, and sometimes they request additional fees for delivery, whatever the case might be, which is strange anyways, because once you order a product and pay for it, there shouldn't be any additional fees that somebody asks for.
Okay.
But they're using that tactic to try to get your funds. But yeah, we always remind people never pay with peer-to-peer payments, especially if you don't know the person, because you're not going to get your money back.
All right. So you said if they do suspect something happening, what should they do? And then what should they do if they've already fallen victim to hitting one of those links?
Yeah, so if you've fallen victim to one of those links, especially if you've provided your personal or your financial information, you probably want to reach out to one of the 3 credit bureaus, if not all of them, to freeze your credit report. Of course, reach out to the financial institution for, you know, whichever way you sent the funds. If you did use a credit card, that would have a little bit more protection than, you know, any type of peer-to-peer payment. But those are things you want to be careful and looking out for. Also, you want to make sure if it's something that's really valuable, you know, maybe request a signature when it's delivered. It may cost a little bit, but if it's something that's really important to you, then, you know, request that it's signed for, you know, and somebody can't just leave it on your front
good idea.
porch. We also know that people get packages stolen from their front porch. So if you know there's a delivery window or a day or time that something's going to be delivered, make sure it doesn't sit on your porch. If it's, you know, whether you have a neighbor come grab it for you, if you need to be home during that time. But we encourage people to not leave packages just sitting on the porch.
Yeah. Something that important. You want that
Yeah.
picked up right away by
Exactly.
yourself or someone you know. And these are good tips, though, to keep in mind as we get closer to the holidays when it
Yes.
can really do some damage.
Exactly.
All right. Another way of scamming folks is through cryptocurrency. What are you seeing there? The
Yeah.
BBB. How does this work?
Yeah, so cryptocurrency and investment scams are really prominent. We've had more than 4,000 reports since
Oh, boy.
2020 about this type of a scam. And oftentimes it starts with romance scams, but there's a lot of different ways that this can happen. And one way we've seen is through TikTok. We know social media platforms are a haven for scammers. They love to live there. They love to try to get people, you know, and take advantage of them in that way. So basically what we've seen is you've got TikTok users, they're scrolling, you maybe get a direct message from somebody offering this really great investment deal. You look them up, maybe they seem legitimate based on their TikTok profile. So you decide to work with them. Basically, it's just a hoax from the beginning.
Oh,
and
gosh.
so anytime you send them money, they might want you to buy the cryptocurrency to then send them, and then they invest it. They'll tell you kind of, all these really great things. You get a lot of money back. You'll, 3 times the investment you're making, et cetera, et cetera. But then when you want to get your money back or pull those funds out, they hit you with all these random fees. And if you pay one fee, then they ask for another fee. And basically, long story short, you never get your money back.
Oh my goodness. Who are the typical targets for this kind of scam?
Anybody. I mean, they really will target anybody that's willing to engage with them or, listen. We always encourage people, again, don't interact with people that reach out to you randomly that you don't know for this particular reason. And if somebody does reach out to you, first of all, if the deal is too good to be true, that's because it normally is. We also encourage people to do their research outside of those particular platforms. So maybe you looked at their account on TikTok and it looked good, but go out to Google and search that person's name, search their account. What are other people saying? Because if this is somebody that's actually doing investments, there's going to be other people that have things to say, especially if they were already scammed. Then, there's a lot of people that are going to be making comments on social media so that, at least other people don't get taken advantage of like they did.
Oh my goodness, so many things to watch out for. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, don't really do anything that's unsolicited.
Exactly.
Is the key
And,
here.
investments are an interesting one because they're so monitored by the government in general. And so, if somebody's just saying they're doing investment work for you, you should be able to find a lot of information about them.
Right, right. All right, so do not fall for any crazy links or
Yeah.
TikTok messages trying to seduce you, because it is a bit of a seduction, trying to
yeah.
get you more rich or more wealthy. Any other protections that people need to know about for either scam, whether it's delivery or cryptocurrency investments?
With the investment scams, if you're really interested in investing, reach out to a financial advisor. You can find one on bbb.org, an accredited one, so you know that they've gone through our accreditation process. And as always, another big tip, if it's too good to be true, that's because it is.
Yep.
But anytime somebody really pressures you into something and they are saying you have to act now, it must be done, today, that's also a red flag, because if something is that great, it won't be available for only one day. So.
All right. Yeah. Peer pressure was something in high school, maybe.
Yes,
And these aren't
yes.
even your peers. So don't
Exactly.
fall for it. All right. Juliana O'Rourke from the Better Business Bureau, always giving us some good advice, good tips. So you are not asking for yourself, where's the money? Where's my money? Where did I lose it? Don't do it. All right. Thanks, Juliana.
Thank you.
All right, back out here, just about 9:40. It's a good time to take a little 2-minute break, shall we? And we'll get back to that live special meeting of transit leaders, talking to local leaders as well about public transit safety. We'll be right back. All right, I'm Jane Monreal. We thank you for downloading the WCNC Plus app to your mobile device or your Roku, Fire, and Apple TVs at home as we bring you live discussions like we just had with Juliana O'Rourke from the Better Business Bureau and live events as they come into the Charlotte newsroom, a local news story covering safety along our public transit system. A special meeting taking place right now. This is happening as we speak. Let's get you back to it and listen in live on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
This is just sad on so many different levels, but I want to thank you and Brent for calling this meeting so we can bring a heightened awareness to this. We're, this is not flying the plane as we're building it. I mean, we've been working on this to bring a level of security, and I think we've done a good job. And this is just a tragic event that happened. So thank you.
All right. Mayor Higdon.
Thank you, and good morning. I appreciate the presentation as well. I have a comment and a question. The comment is following up on what Mayor Phillips said. While I certainly think fair enforcement is really important, if I'm riding one of our trains or buses, I would be less concerned about whether someone had a ticket or if they were going to commit a crime against me. So I think it'd be good to have more folks riding these vehicles whenever possible, just an observation. That being said, to follow up on what Mayor Knox said, I think from my perspective, and I travel quite a bit, our safety record has been fairly good, and I wonder if you have any statistics on how we compare with other similarly sized municipalities across the country as far as crime.
Yeah, Mayor Higdon, we are working through that. So as we get that data, we will share that out. We can certainly compare that data to other comparable transit systems as well. One of the reasons, when I say we're working through the data, here's what I mean by that. There are two systems, CATS tracks incidents as well as CMPD. And it is likely and frequent that one incident will appear in both systems, right? CATS has recorded it, CMPD has recorded it, because we're working together. But we don't have a unified tracking system. So as we pull that data together, that's really what we do, is work with CMPD to pull that data together and make sure we're not duplicating incidents, that we are giving you an accurate reporting on number of incidents based on both records.
Okay. All right. Mayor Higdon, I'm going to move to Commissioner Altman, if you're done. Okay. Ms. Altman?
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I want to thank the Mayor of Charlotte for convening this. Obviously, it's been a really hard moment for our community. And I want to send my condolences also to Irina's family. Whether it is a senseless random act of violence at a nightclub where people are joyfully dancing, or in a movie theater, or in an elementary school, or in a house of worship, we see things like this happen throughout our community, and it rocks our sense of security where we live, work, and play. And I hate that for the family and the friends impacted. I hate it for our whole community because we do have a problem in this country that does require all of us to lean in to solve. I really want to thank the leadership of the CATS CEO for recruiting someone from New York City's MTA to come head up our security programming. It makes me feel really better that in this moment, we, as Mayor Knox said, we are not building the plane. We already have in place somebody with the skill set and experience to try to do the most we can to reduce and detect threats to safety for our community. It makes me really pleased to know that we have increased our security spending from $5.8 million to $18.4 million. I'm happy that that has already been deployed. And so I have a few questions. One, I would like, Mr. Cagle, if you can, tell us a little more about the threats and vulnerability assessment. When was it conducted? To the extent you can share, because we do want to, protect the system, but can you share where that is and give us a little more visibility to that?
Yeah, I'll ask Eric Osnes to talk about when it was conducted. I will tell you now, before Eric gets up, I'll relieve him of having to say this. Much of the details included in that we will not be able to share with you. It is what's called SSI, or security sensitive information. But Eric can certainly share with you when it was conducted and those kinds of details.
Sure. So I'll talk a little bit about process and at a high level what was identified. So the TVA was conducted approximately 5 weeks ago. My security team and members from TSA went over each of the stations that were evaluated. They picked a representative number of stations, and we looked at infrastructure, we looked at the security, electronic security posture, and we also looked at the number of security assets that were assigned to the area from the PSS security firm. So we took a good look at our electronic posture, our physical security posture, and the infrastructure that provides us challenges. TSA did an extensive job in delineating vulnerabilities in relation to those three elements, and we're working through and coming up with controls that need to be implemented to address those vulnerabilities. So I think from a high-level perspective, I think that sums up what the TVRA was about.
Let me add in here, too, and Eric sort of mentioned this, but I think I want to underline it. We have internal CAT security folks, many of whom have law enforcement backgrounds. Ebony Nesbitt, our transit security manager, is sitting over there. Wave your hand, Ebony. Ebony, Eric, Lee and Celestine with PSS. What I will say is, as we have brought in PSS, Lee and Celestine are former CMPD. They retired from CMPD, both of them, and founded PSS. We want that new approach. Eric, bringing him in, we want that new approach, and we want that to be blended with the institutional knowledge that our folks also bring, like Mr. Nesbitt and others. And so we do believe that as we think about the TVA or other efforts, all of this works together to understand where we've been, the institutional knowledge, but also bringing in those new ideas.
Thank you. I'd now like to recognize.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Mayor Lyles.
You have some more
I'm so sorry. May
questions.
I follow up with just a few more?
Yes, please.
Thank you. I'm sorry. So, Mr. Cagle, as you work through the results of the threat and vulnerability analysis, if you determine that you need additional resources, I hope you will bring that back to the Metropolitan Transit Commission for us to hear, because I know we're all very interested in doing everything we can to support safety on the system. I do want to say that I went to the East-West Station over the weekend, just, randomly, and happened to see, when I walked up, two security officials who were on the platform, and I took some time to kind of interview them and quiz them a little bit, and they were telling me that they're on the platform, and then they'll get on the train, they check fares while they're on the train, they'll go to the next stop, they'll get off, they'll be around that platform for a while, and they go all the way down the system and then come all the way back. And it seemed like they were new. I don't know if it was a new contract, a new group, but if you can confirm or explain, is this a little bit how it's functioning? I certainly wasn't impressed by them. They had a lot to share with how they are, surveilling the space and confirming that people do have tickets, because I agree that we need to create a culture where people expect and are prepared and do in fact pay for their fares. And I'll just take another opportunity to suggest that we have branding inside our train that reminds people that it's the law, it's required, you have to pay, to send a lot of messages to sort of undo the perception that you are allowed to ride for free. I feel like we need to invest some more energy around that. But I'd like to hear a little bit about if there's a new security firm or a new subcontractor that has been on the job, and how you think that might be a part of this ecosystem.
Yes. Thank you for the question. What we try to do, again, take a approach where we can kind of isolate the system into zones and be able to place our personnel in those zones so that they are not riding from UNCC all the way down to 485. We can actually keep things concentrated in a certain area. What we did was created 3 districts. We have the Northern District, the Central District, and the Southern District. And within those districts, we created zones. So you have a zone that runs from 45 up to Woodlawn, and then another zone that runs from that point all the way up to Bland. So that incorporates the facilities and the line within that district. We have a district commander that is responsible for that district, and then of course he has supervisors and then officers assigned to those areas as well. So the theory of what we're trying to do is no different from what we did at the police department with CMPD. If we can keep our officers that are assigned to those zones in those zones, that means they can touch those platforms and those riders more often, more frequently, than trying to have them police the whole system. And so with that model, we feel like that's the best approach going forward. And when we're fully staffed, you'll see more of a presence. You'll see more officers working specifically in their zones and having more contact with our riders. Did that answer your question?
The other thing I'll remind folks of when we think about transit, and I think this is a good reminder. So as Lee said, as those folks are assigned to their zones and their districts, each of those districts are different. The security approach and needs of the Northern District is different than the Southern or the Central. And even within those districts, the zones can be very different. 485 to Woodlawn is not the same as Woodlawn to Bland. Very different. So as those officers, those security personnel, become familiar with the zones and the districts, they start to be more effective. The other thing I'll say about transit is they also get to know the folks, right? If you don't use transit on a daily basis, you might think, well, how did they do that? Our operators, our personnel who are in the system every day, they form relationships because people ride every day, right? Some folks come for special events, but a lot of the riders are daily riders, and so they get to know not only the surrounding, but the folks who are using transit, whether it's in the bus system or in the rail system, and that is very beneficial to them as they're conducting their work.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Washam, Cornelius Mayor, you are ready to speak up?
I am. Thank you so much, Mayor Lyles. My condolences as well to the family. You know, this has been a real gut punch, I think, to all of us, and it's really brought some discomfort, certainly to my entire community. You know, I guess as you change perceptions of folks or manage perceptions of folks going forward, I think it's going to be difficult. I really do, because you know, there's just a lot of chatter out there, particularly as it relates. It's sad that it relates to the fact that we've got a vote coming up in November on on transit tax, it brings on some negatives in relation to the rail services and all that overall, particularly in my community. And it's not when you're have a situation where you've lost a life here. That's what we need to be concentrating on, solving situations like that going into the future. But it has ramped up in that particular segment of folks that are not in favor of the transit tax in my community. And I'm not saying we need to do anything about it, but I am saying we do need to show some decisive action that folks can relate to. All this great information. I appreciate the leadership of Brent and his team throughout this process. I don't want us to come across as being defensive of what we've done and what we're doing. We've got to actually change the perception by showing some action, something probably short of calling in the National Guard, hopefully, but to change perception that our transit system is safe. That message has got to resound, and it's got to resound quickly. So that's what I would add, and thank you for all you're doing. Thank you, Vi, for calling this meeting. I think it was badly needed, but I'm very concerned about how to not appear defensive, but to appear proactive in solving this problem as good as we can in the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Washam. I have one thing, and I don't think I talked about this yesterday, but I think, Brent, you're saying that we're going to begin to look at other other ways that people are operating their transit systems. And I think we really would, I think it would be very helpful to kind of give us this kind of.
You've been watching live a special transit meeting regarding public safety transit in light of the woman who was stabbed almost 2 weekends ago while riding the blue light rail. We're going to take a 2-minute break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Top of the hour, we're going to meet with our own Nate Morabito discussing a story that he talked about in light of Hurricane Helene, what happened then, and the evacuation, all the issues that happened in one county in western North Carolina, coming up after the break. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal here at 10 o'clock. And almost a year after Hurricane hit western North Carolina, killing 108 people, the historic storm has forced emergency managers to take a look at their precautions and measures in place. Our own Nate Morabito found some inconsistent, maybe inadequate, some cases non-existent efforts to evacuate those at risk and leading up to the storm, Nate. And you also met a couple of sisters really at the center part of this story who really provided some candid and just fascinating accounts of their experience.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember in the weeks after Helene, there was a lot of talk about emergency messaging and who received messages, who didn't, the cell phone service, the power going out, all of these complications. And in North Carolina, these local counties are the ones that are making the decisions about when to have mandatory, voluntary evacuations, no evacuations. And even remember here in Charlotte, there was mandatory evacuations along Riverside Drive where, there was flooding there. And in some parts of western North Carolina, there weren't evacuations. And in other places, there were initially voluntary, then mandatory. So all these different approaches that in hindsight we can sit there and look at now and study to try to figure out what can be done better in the future. And so we were working on this story about evacuations and essentially the need for better communication moving forward. And first and foremost, I want to point this out. Buncombe County, which had a majority of the deaths there, almost half of the deaths were from Buncombe County during Helene in North Carolina, they have requested $12 million from the state through a FEMA match program to add sirens along about 10 creeks and rivers to better alert people. Because, you may send out a cell phone alert, but maybe I don't get the message, right? Mm-hmm. And experts will say redundancy is critical. The more efforts you make to reach people, the better. So they're asking for this money to add stream gauges and sirens to help alert people if and when the next storm occurs. Well, we were up there working on this story and several others, and we interviewed this couple along Flat Creek in Buncombe County, and they said, you've got to meet the Mattress Sisters. And I said, what do you mean? Why are they called the Mattress Sisters? They said they survived Helene by riding a mattress down the floodwaters.
Amazing.
And these women are 75 and 76. And I just want to sit back and let you all hear from them, first of all, because their story is unbelievable, and it's incredible that they survived. And they're just, I don't know, their attitude is so positive and refreshing and inspirational. So let's take a listen to that, and then we can talk more about it.
All right.
The water was doing 85 and 90 miles an hour.
But you were in the water.
Yeah. We were on the mattress. The house just shattered into pieces. The first one, when the logs hit, the avalanche came down, hit the sawmill, and the logs broke loose, and there were logs like this. It was literally like being torpedoed. When it hit, it knocked us in the floor, the first one. Then I stood up, and I saw my washer, dryer, and laundry room go by, and I saw cars going by and animals, and I'm like, what? And then it hit again and just shattered it.
So you were on a mattress with your sister?
Yeah. And we both of us, we went like 2 or 3 miles down there till nobody found us for like 2 days. I think they gave up looking for us because, they found, unfortunately, 2 women here that had passed away, and they thought it was us, but it wasn't. And some lady and my neighbors were walking down there, and we heard them singing one morning.
We got up early that morning, and the water was rising quickly, and she moved the cars up the hill a little bit, and she said, don't worry, the house is built really well, so I'm not worried about that. We went through Andrews. But anyway, everything just went haywire all of a sudden, and I looked in the back. She was coming in the door, and there was a wall of water coming through, and it knocked out the utility room, and all of a sudden we ran to the bedroom, jumped on the mattress with our little dog, and the house broke up, and so we were just going down the river about 3 miles. We were going about 80 miles an hour, and it was just devastating. We just didn't know where we were going to end up or anything, and all of a sudden we landed in a bunch of debris, and I fell off into a vortex off the bed, and Jackie got thrown from the mattress on a flat area where she stood up and tried to get me out, but the water was pulling me down, and so she held on to me for about 45 minutes, and finally threw a table in there. It was strong enough where I could hold on to it. It was floating by, and so she threw it in, and I was able to pull myself up after about 45 minutes.
I MacGyvered everything. Anything that floated by, I grabbed bottles of water, I grabbed plastic, anything that I could find that I knew we were going to be there for a while. So I just went in survivor mode. She was flipping out on me. She just, I think it was each one of us trying to keep the other one alive. It's like I'm permanently scarred from being beat around in the storm so much.
We prayed every night and thanked God that we pulled through this, and that somebody finally found us after the third day. This lady brought some chainsaws with some men, and they pulled us out of the rubbish, and then they flew us into Asheville. Jackie.
How did you stay on that mattress, though?
Oh, it was just like, it was...
You didn't have a choice.
If you fell off, you were gone. I mean, we were holding on to each other, and the little dog was in the middle of us, and we were just holding on for life.
It's do or die at that point. I mean,
oh yeah.
All we had on was our nightgowns, and they were ripped to shreds, and just you know, people think I'm crazy because God spoke to me. This calmness came over me. This calmness came over me at one point, and I told my sister, I'm like, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. 2 hours later, we heard a woman singing, and then we started screaming and banging because I couldn't figure out where we were, but we were like 40 feet down a pile of debris. That's why they couldn't find us, because there was so much stuff on top.
First of all, I love these women. Don't we love the Mattress Sisters? Nate, Jackie, and Cynthia, their testimony to surviving is amazing in their 70s. What strength and inspiration, and how are they doing today?
I mean, just, number one, upstream from them,
yeah,
like more than a dozen people died, first of all.
Yeah.
Okay? And you can imagine being in that situation, and I mean, I don't know how you don't give up, right?
Right.
Maybe it's because they were with each other. The dog was there, little Romeo, he survived.
So many things could happen.
I think that was part of it. But I was just so blown away by their strength. I mean, they're doing as good as they can be. They have this positivity, and Cynthia gave me a hug before we left and was just so thankful that people had not forgotten about them.
Right.
Like, that's a big thing up there, is that they still need a lot of help, and they're just grateful that they're still in people's thoughts. And I was texting with one of their friends today. I mean, like the life savings went into their house they were living in that's now gone. They have volunteers up there helping them rebuild, but they still need something like $45,000 to really get back on their feet up there. They have a GoFundMe they're trying to raise money for. And yeah, they've got people planting flower beds for them, which is, Jackie loved her flower beds, number one. Those were obviously destroyed. They don't even have a bridge over the creek up there right now. There's so many other factors going on. And I think that's something that I realized spending the day up there, is that it's not really black and white. It's very complicated, right? This isn't just, okay, if you survived, your house is gone. This is trauma. This is everything that you had in your life gone, except for your life.
Neighbors gone.
Yeah, I mean, you have people that your community didn't survive. And so I think that for them, it's a long way forward still, and they have such gratitude. And I think that's the hard part. They feel terrible asking for help.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like, they don't want to have to do that.
There's that generation too, though.
You're right.
A little proud.
Yeah, they don't want to have to ask for help. Yeah.
Right.
You're right. I mean, I don't know. I just know that they need help still.
Resilient.
They need help. And thank goodness the community stepped up in a big way to help them. But I'd imagine you can find this story in any holler up there that was affected.
Sure.
Right.
Where so much of what had existed for a long time had washed away. And what struck me too about these sisters is they said they were pretty much caught off guard by Helene. I mean, a lot of people were, right?
Right.
And they didn't get any warnings. They said, once their power went out, they felt really like they didn't know what to do. And then they woke up and they saw the floodwaters coming in. But at that point, what was the alternative? I mean, I don't really know what else you could do.
You're in the middle
and,
of the night.
You know, and it's such a remote area back there too. Our cell service wasn't good. It didn't work for a long time. And so Wi-Fi is critical, but when the Wi-Fi is wiped out, you don't have that. They had a landline, but that's also complicated by all the infrastructure challenges. There were major landslides that wiped down everything on top of the rainwater. So I just don't know how they did it. I mean, I'm trying to picture, and I know they said 80 miles per hour down that river, and I'm sure it
Yeah.
felt like that.
Sure.
At a
Super
minimum,
fast.
maybe even more. Who knows how fast it was going. And to sit there for 2 days.
Yeah.
You know, like I
With
don't
the
know how to do
dog.
it. And the
Holding
dog in the middle of
on.
the mattress.
Almost
And the
holding
dog, by the way, how is the dog? People are
Dog's
really wondering.
fine. Yeah.
Okay.
He's
Oh, thank
kind
goodness.
of like a little Yorkie.
Yes.
Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not great with dogs.
But a little dog.
breeds.
A little
It's
dog.
a tiny lap dog, which is even incredible too, because this lap dog was in the middle of these two sisters.
Right.
Just amazing people, and I've loved talking to them. And I texted Jackie this morning. I want to see one of the previous texts she sent me, just because her attitude, it just blows me away. She's first of all hilarious.
Yes.
Yeah, you can
And I
tell.
Yes. No, they're
Yeah.
characters.
That's her a coping mechanism, though. And,
Yeah.
and she
Sure.
kind of said as much too, you know, because what she really wanted to do is to kind of not make light of it, but how else do you move past it?
Yeah.
Right, you
in that
gotta laugh
situation?
at you're crying,
you know.
right?
You know, so let me see if I can find it here, because I just, you know, I think it's just so telling. Here's a good line from her. People don't understand you're sitting there one day with everything you own and collected your entire life, and the next minute everything in your life is gone. I mean, everything in my life was gone. Grandma's antiques jewelry, her gun collection, her sewing machine. It's so much, right? And these are just things, right?
Sure, we say that.
Right, we do say that, but think about the things in your home. They're all meaningful in their own way. And I know that,
Yeah.
like, we went up to their house. Cynthia was so eager to show me inside this house, because from the outside, it looks like a house. But it's essentially like a shed slash barn that they're not living in.
Everything's just cleared out.
No, but they built a shed.
Oh, they built. Okay.
And they're
yeah,
living
yeah.
in it. And there's a bathroom, there's a bedroom. I mean, it looks like a house.
Okay.
And so you look up at the roof and you realize that you're in a shed. And so right now, like, they need to add their closet onto the shed, basically,
Right.
because they need more space, you know, and they have a kitchen. It's just, to me, it's just so mind-blowing that this is the way people are living out of necessity right now. They're having to survive, and they're getting a ton of help. But she's just, you know, they're kind of desperate in some ways. You know, they gave up some of their land for the bridge they still have to build.
Oh, my goodness.
You know, they're all giving people up there, and they really are not close to, you know, the city. So it's just hard to really explain it. Like, as one person told me, one of their neighbors, Michelle Pentecost, said to me, she goes, you can see pictures of it, it's not the same.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to come up
Gotta
here.
be in it,
You've
you
gotta
gotta
talk
live
to
it.
people. And I'm not doing justice trying to explain
Sure.
what these
Sure.
women went through, but it's just all of them up there have lost things in their own way. And, you know, you're living on the river, you know, you were not going to expect it to kind of
No.
swell the way it did, and then it just kind of expanded the riverbed ultimately. And these sirens that Buncombe Common wants to buy, some of them would go along Flat Creek, where she lives. And there's also a couple of the big rivers there in Asheville and about 9 other creeks that they're hoping to get this money for. But then we got the government. How long is that going to take?
Right, so it's
Right.
a waiting game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, they still have needs just to cover basics.
Exactly.
What can we do to help?
Yeah, I mean, number one, they want people to still keep showing up and just not forgetting about them. And that's the hard part when I was talking to people up there, too. I mean, if you think about the number of disasters all alone, just disasters we've had since then, you know, the wildfires in California, the flooding in Texas, and I know I'm missing others, too, right? It's just, we don't forget people, but we look to the next one a lot of
Right.
times. And so recovery is not a year thing,
No.
right? This is a lifetime of trying to recover from this. And it's generational, you know, it'll have generational impacts if people aren't willing to help them. So I know there's tons of volunteer organizations up there still trying to help. I know in some places they're just trying to get footbridges up, and you know, in Western North Carolina, just to get people access to their property. So I would say, number one, they just don't want you to forget them. So, you know, like in these sisters, they have a GoFundMe, as I've said. I'm sure there's plenty of other fundraisers out there for plenty of other people. And we also visited like a FEMA trailer park where, you know, they're temporary housing for people, but it's temporary. So like you have to kind of think of these next steps for folks as they try to recover from this. So I just think that that's part of why we're doing a lot of this reporting almost a year later, is to remind people of the impact, and that while there's some amazing survival stories, people are surviving still.
Yeah.
Right? They're
Right.
in survival mode right now. So any help that people can offer, I know, would definitely be welcome up that way. And you can always reach out to me, and I can connect you to them if that's something that your heart speaks to you about the story.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think I say this multiple times, but for every group of sisters like this, there are other people just
Right.
like them that are in
Right.
a similar situation up there.
Right.
And that's the key. How many homes were destroyed? I mean, 100+ lives lost up there. So we just can't kind of forget about them. And that's kind of the main point that I would drive home. And never while we were up there did they say that, though. The sisters were like, you know, you can't forget us. They were like, thank you for not forgetting us.
Ah.
You know, there's a lot
It
of
was,
gratitude.
it came from a place of gratitude.
It did.
Yeah.
It did.
I get that.
Really special people. I just love it. And
Yeah,
their
they are.
neighbors love them. I mean, how could you
how
not?
could
You can see why.
I mean, we were up there talking to them like, I didn't really believe it at first when they said, I need to talk to these sisters. And I went to talk to them, and she started talking. I'm like, totally believable.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can't believe their story hasn't gotten out there more than it has at this point. And you just want to keep talking to them because they're just, maybe it's therapeutic for them. I don't know. But I think it's, in some ways, it's a testimony to other people too that, you know, when life really has got you on the edge, that there's maybe a way and a chance out of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just amazing. The fact that they both survived.
Yeah.
And one's holding the other, like
That's
she's falling into the water.
She's
No, it's-
been holding on and
That's a
grabbed
scene,
table
a
and
visual.
grabbing debris that's floating by you,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you know, makeshift.
And a helicopter has to pull them out eventually, and they're in their ripped
Wow.
nightgowns. You can just picture all of
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
I'm sure black
3
and
days.
blue.
Yeah. You're in the water
Just
for that
amazing.
long, and then the dog.
Then the
And
dog.
the dog has to be rescued, and everyone
Yeah.
survived. Yes. I mean, all the words, incredible and unimaginable, and we are glad that they're still here and that you were able to talk to them
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
bring us that story, Nate.
And I'll mention too, I mean, if you want to reach out to your members of Congress and push them to make sure that, you know, Buncombe County gets the money for these sirens.
There you go.
And for the stream gauges, because they will undoubtedly save lives. And it's not like Buncombe County didn't go knock on doors. They had firefighters out there trying to get people voluntarily to leave. Eventually they sent out alerts. And, you know, the county manager said if she could do it over again, maybe she would have sent people out a little bit sooner to get people to leave. But just imagine you have all those efforts, then you have sirens.
Right.
I mean, you know, that was an issue down in Texas. There are no
Right.
sirens. Like, if you
Right.
hear a siren, that is a jarring noise that,
Yep.
you know, the hope is that they're so disruptive that you have to leave. And that's what the text messages, the cell phone messages, the county manager said, became so annoying to people who were trying to sleep in the middle of the night. They just left. They said, we've got to leave. This keeps going off.
Right.
We can't sleep anyways. We got to get out of here. So.
Well, you know, we hear the numbers and the data and what happened, but when you put a face to the story and tell us the story of survival, we can't imagine those who did not survive. And your story certainly showing us some of those serious gaps in the emergency response systems for our local counties in Western North Carolina. So, Nate, thank you.
Thank you guys. Yeah.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And with that, of course, that story right now is posted on the WCNC app as well as the website. You can get more information. Reach out to Nate, going to his story that aired here on WCNC Charlotte. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back to Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Mark your calendar for tonight. Making an appointment to watch here on WCNC Plus. It's the countdown to kickoff for the Carolina Panthers season. Our Nick Carboni, sports director, as well as Danielle Stein and Miss Logan Campbell, covering things, having great conversations with players, coaches, the playmakers that are going to do it for the Carolina Panthers this season. And you know what, Carlene?
Gotta show them.
You got to show the extended coverage. What is Sturtevant doing on here?
Sturtevant Eugene will be having a little talk show because Nick Sturtevant's our number one Panthers fan.
That's right. He's our resident number one fan.
Number one fan.
A number one fan of the Panthers and number one fan of Eugene Robinson.
Yes, and he and Eugene are going to be breaking down what to expect for the week ahead, breaking down the game before, this, that, and the other thing. It's all things Panthers. With Eugene and his bestie,
his new bestie.
New best friend.
We thought we were his besties.
No.
Not happening anymore.
Not even a little bit.
Eugene took his place.
Yeah.
All right. Well, all right. So enjoy that. Have a go at it tonight. Tonight at 9, WCNC Charlotte and WCNC Plus. All right. Tonight at 9, kicking off Panthers season. Thursday Night Football kicks off as well.
That's right.
Right here on WCNC Charlotte. Right now, we want to take you out live. There is a rally taking place in Washington, D.C. This is in solidarity with Epstein survivors. It is called the Stand With Survivors Rally, with those exploited by Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Taking place right now here, again, out of the nation's capital. Let's listen in.
Police report. She thought about it and came back the following week and filed the first documented police report against Jeffrey Epstein in 1997. And you all were betrayed because there was no prosecution. Believe women. Let's hear it. Believe women. Believe women. Believe women. And then the victims and all of us were betrayed when, in Florida, Mr. Acosta made that deal, U.S. Attorney, is for the Southern District of Florida, made that deal that instead of 60 felony counts that could have been filed by the United States Attorney, 2 counts were filed by the state attorney, and Jeffrey Epstein, without having a trial, was able to go to his office every day as part of the sentence and just sleep in the jail at night for 13 months. Is that justice? No! You were betrayed. Betrayed. And then, of course, there was New York. New York, where Jeffrey Epstein was brought in, arrested. I saw him at the last hearing in federal court. And so many victims and so many survivors thought, at last there's justice. But instead of justice, there was a dead body, the Metropolitan Correctional Center, and questions are still being asked. Was it suicide? Was it homicide? But the victims never got to testify at trial and confront that sexual predator. Was that justice? No! We're overdue for justice. We're not going to be waiting for justice. We are fighting for justice. And let me tell you, no more talk of the word pedophiles, which only means a man who is attracted to children. We're not talking about pedophiles. We're talking about sexual predators and child molesters. Let's get the word in about what the crime was that they committed. Do you agree? Yes! And finally, let me just say, these predators took advantage of vulnerable children, of vulnerable adults. And we know how vulnerable women can be. And they abuse their power, and they abuse their trust. And it's time to meet power with power. There are 3 stages of evolution. The first is victim, the second is survivor, and the third is fighter for change. Are you going to be fighters for change? Not just today, but every day. Not just in politics in Congress, but in lawsuits in speaking to people, your coworkers, your children, your mothers. Help them, support them to stand up to win justice, because nobody has ever given women and children any rights. We've always had to fight to win them. We've had to fight to keep them. Will you fight that fight? And I leave you with this, one of my favorite sayings. Pray for the dead, and that's for Virginia Roberts and all those who didn't make it here today. Pray for the dead. But fight like hell for the living. Keep up the fight. Let me hear it. Keep up the fight. Keep up the fight. Keep up the fight. Keep up the fight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. One last unbelievable rallying cheer for all the survivors here. What do we want? When do we want it? Now! Okay, everybody, there's the press conference starting in a few minutes. Do you want to just go on over and we'll meet you over there, whoever wants to. Otherwise, stay here. We have this space for a while longer. Thank you so much.
I recorded all of it.
And it appears that Epstein survivors rally is just about wrapped up out of Washington, D.C. Let's go ahead and take a quick 2-minute break here on Live Impact News on WCNC+. Hi, everyone. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal, thanking you for downloading the WCNC Plus app. That's where you're going to get all of this content from local news to state, national, and international. Right now on the national stage is a GOP leadership presser that is happening live right now following a conference meeting out of Washington, D.C. Let's listen in live on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
It's more victims, senseless, needless victims of crime that shouldn't be if you only had better ordinances. And so our Oversight Committee is going to be going to work next week, passing a package of bills to address a lot of those problems that DC created, to fix it so that criminals can't just walk free. If they want to go commit tough crimes, they'll have to do the time for what they do on the streets. And I think that's a good thing. that we're going to be addressing that problem even more than what President Trump's already done. You can look at what the Oversight Committee has already done over the break. While a lot of people were home, a lot of Oversight Committee members were here getting that testimony that Chairman Comer talked about from those victims of the horrors of Epstein. And we're going to continue through the rule today, have a vote to force a lot of that information to be made public, to support the subpoenas that the committee's doing, to go even further than others want to go at getting that information out to the public, including going after the estate of Jeffrey Epstein, something others have refused to do. So we're not done, but it's going to be an important vote today on the House floor to show our support there. And then, of course, we are going to continue to talk about all the things that we passed just in these first 6 months. And obviously there's a lot more we want to do. There's a lot more we're doing just this week. Some great energy production bills, energy and water appropriations bill. Appropriators are having negotiations to try to get a resolution on the proper funding of government. All of that is still going on. But it's important when you go around the country and hear stories like we heard today of people that are now starting to make more investment in America because we stabilized the tax code. We prevented a massive tax increase on families all across this nation by passing the One Big Beautiful Bill. We modernize America's air traffic control system. We secure our border. We open up more energy production. All of the things that are going to help families have more money in their pockets, overtime workers with no tax on tips. That's $1,700 more in the pockets of hardworking families, and the best is yet to come. There's a lot more we're going to do, and the person leading that charge is the fellow LSU alum, and yes, we are proud of our alma mater winning its opening game. It's going to have football back, college football. Some people might not say right now they're glad to have college football back, depending on how their team did. We are proud of what's now the number 3 team in the nation, the LSU Fighting Tigers, another Fighting Tiger, and Cover Boy. If you brought your copies of Time magazine, he might actually sign a copy for you. Not every day that a Republican gets on the cover of Time magazine, but he has exhibited great leadership. He's gotten a very, very narrow House Republican majority to come together time and time again to deliver big wins for American families, and I'm glad it's being noticed nationally. It deserves to be. Our Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. Welcome back to everybody. We come back very excited, and not just because the LSU Tigers prevailed on Saturday, but because we're in a really good mood. The House Republicans went out, fanned out across the country over the district work period, got a lot of work done, and they were talking about the One Big Beautiful Bill, which has also become known as the Working Families Tax Cut Act, because that's what it principally represents. And it was met with great reception everywhere. I'm so grateful for leaders like Tom, the Clicks, who are these small business owners that is the heart of the U.S. economy, and they make it run and they provide jobs. And we're trying to do everything we can to ensure that they have success, because the success of small business owners and hardworking families is the success of America. And that's what our principles and policies provide. And so we're so excited about that. We went out, fanned out across the country. We met with business leaders just like this, with workers, farmers, families in our districts to discuss our legislation and how it's already making a positive impact in communities across the country. I spent the month traveling my own district and 12 other states, and we went quite literally coast to coast. Got a great reception everywhere we went. In my district, I met with farmers who will benefit from the permanent relief from that death tax, and small business owners just like this, who can now plan for the future better because of tax certainty and increases in the small business deductions. In Nashville, Tennessee, where I was, I met with tip workers who will keep more of what they earn thanks to the no tax on tips and no tax on overtime. And they were overjoyed by that. We interviewed them and got their comments on it. I was in Idaho Falls, Idaho. Visited with local manufacturer there who employs 5,200 people, one of the biggest, most impressive businesses nationwide. And thanks to this bill, they can now permanently deduct more of their critical investments in research and development on their products, and they will help their company and thereby create more jobs and help their workers. Look, whether you're a farmer, a bartender, a stay-at-home parent, a law enforcement officer, a business owner, any profession in between, The legislation that we passed is going to benefit you. It's going to benefit all Americans because, as we noted, it was written for lower and middle class earners, and they are going to feel the effects of that in very short order. We're going to continue to speak the truth to the American people, and we're really excited, I'll just note parenthetically, as we head into the midterm election, about the results that we can point to that are going to help everyone. Regarding D.C. crime, it's not just the one big beautiful bill that's helping American people. Since President Trump took control of the crime in this city, and so many of you live here and you experience this, they took control of the D.C. Metro Police Department, and the crime in our nation's capital has fallen off a cliff. Here's some stats. Carjackings are down 85%. Some of you, I won't ask for a raise of hands, but some of y'all live in the Navy Yard. I mean, people were scared to go to their cars at night. That's not happening anymore. I was down there yesterday, and we have National Guard, loyal, faithful, brave National Guardsmen and women walking the streets in full, with their arms. Makes a big difference. Carjacking's down 85%, robbery's down 42%, violent crime down 25%. D.C. went 11 straight days without a murder. That sounds like, wow, why would you be because that's an amazing thing around here. Nearly 1,300 criminals have been arrested and 135 illegal guns removed from the D.C. streets. D.C. residents and the residents of every big American city should be able to walk freely without fear of being mugged and violently assaulted and carjacked or shot at. I mean, this is common sense, and it's clear this action is needed. 81% of the people in this country believe crime is a major problem in large American cities. And we ought to do something about it, and we're the team that will. President Trump is clearly listening. His efforts have been so effective here in D.C. that Mayor Bowser, who is a Democrat, as you know, signed an executive order just yesterday welcoming federal law enforcement in D.C. indefinitely. Okay? I hope my Democrat colleagues here will wake up and realize that crime is not a partisan issue. It can't be. Violent criminals don't know if you're a Democrat or a Republican before they put a gun to the back of your head and demand you give up your keys. We can't stand for that. And the Democrats should set aside their pride and stop defending violent criminals, which is amazingly what so many of them are doing right now, and work with the Trump administration to put the safety of the American people first. Regarding government funding, just very quickly, you've heard Leader Scalise address this. House Republicans are continuing the FY26 appropriations process in our efforts to responsibly fund the government while also cutting spending. Why? Because, my friends, we have a $37 trillion federal debt. Now, remember, we cut $1.6 trillion in the big, beautiful bill, and that was a huge leap forward because it's the largest amount of savings ever achieved by any legislative body in the history of mankind. But it's not enough. We have to continue to spend more responsibly. This week, we'll bring up the Energy and Water Appropriations Bill to the floor, and Chairman Cole is diligently working to get all 12 of the appropriations bills out of his committee. As we always are, the House Republicans are committed to keeping the government open. And unfortunately, it seems like not all the Democrats agree with that, and they're beginning to apply their government shutdown pressure. But I want you to remember one thing. All but one House Democrat voted to shut down the government in March. And we expect, sadly, that may happen again. That will be their inclination. If the government shuts down, it'll be because congressional Democrats rejected common sense solutions to fund the government and instead caved to their far left base. But I'm going to say this. I mean, look, I mean this sincerely. If Democrats are willing to work with us and think responsibly about how we can spend less than we did last year, then we are all open to that. Our nation is saddled with that debt, and we've got to figure this out. Last thing I'll note, and we'll go to questions. I just got a comment on Governor Newsom and his anti-Christian rhetoric, anti-religious rhetoric. Just one personal point here. Last week, he called me out personally a couple times, and he shamelessly mocked the victims of Annunciation Catholic School for praying after the shooting. Went online and did it in writing. I just found it reprehensible. It's really sick. In response to a video of Caroline Leavitt discussing the power of prayer amid great tragedy, the governor posted, quote, "These children were literally praying as they got shot at." Why? Why would he do that? Why would you do that? Except that you were starving for attention. It's detestable. 2 children were murdered. More than a dozen were hospitalized, and Gavin Newsom's response was to sneer and condemn those who seek out our Creator at our darkest moments. I just thought it was evil. In fact, it's indicative of such a profound moral decay that really the only hope for Gavin is prayer, ironically. And we're told in Scripture to do that. As people of faith, we believe in the strength of prayer and intercession. It's foundational to who we are as believers, and by the way, who we are as Americans. It's woven into the fabric of our country, our deep Judeo-Christian heritage, and it's something that we represent. And as the leader of the state with the largest Christian population in America, I will keep Governor Newsom and also the people of California in my prayers, and I think you ought to be called out, and anybody who does that should be called out for it. With that, take a few questions. Yes, ma'am.
So, Melina with NTA, thank you for answering the question. So, at China's military parade today, China's leading Russia's Putin.
You've been watching live a GOP press conference following an earlier meeting there in Washington, D.C., talking about several things, including House Speaker Mike Johnson on the One Big Beautiful Bill and the Epstein files that, by the way, are being center of the focus this morning at another press event happening in D.C. This is a separate group, a bipartisan group of lawmakers as well as women who allege abuse by Epstein. Let's listen in on Live Impact News on WCNC+.
Against Jeffrey Epstein, against his estate, and against two financial institutions, J.P. Morgan and Deutsche Bank, that proved that they knowingly provided the financial infrastructure for a sex trafficking operation. Unfortunately, all of the documents and evidence that we have worked so hard to gather hide behind protective orders, confidentiality agreements, and bank secrecy laws. That is why this discharge petition is so important. While we have seen the documents, you haven't. And when you see the documents, you're going to be appalled. And the American people deserve to see everything. When you sign this discharge petition, it should mean nothing is off limits. That means the documents in the possession of the CIA should be made available. Those in the possession of the FBI going back decades should be made available. The SEC, financial records in the possession of FinCEN should be made available. Everybody knows that evil flourishes in the darkness. Corruption flourishes in secrecy. It is time, right now, to make a difference for the women that are behind me right now. They have been courageous and fought through this whole thing. Whether you're a Republican or you're a Democrat, this one is an easy call. You're an American who cares about equal rights and equal protection under the law. If you care about these women, if you care about our country, and you care about this issue, this should pass with flying colors. I really appreciate everybody being here.
Hi, good morning. My name is Brittany Henderson, and I think in addition to thanking the wonderful congressmen and women who are here today, we need to thank the women, and not just the women who are going to speak, but the other women who are standing behind them, along with other lawyers, Sigrid McCauley. Time for the world to give this kind of attention to an issue that it should have had forever. This administration has the opportunity to do what the past administrations did not do. This administration can either stand with the victims and stand for the victims, or it can continue to hurt the victims like has happened in the past. We aren't here just to ask for transparency, though. We're here too to ask for protection. The women here represent hundreds of other women who we have spoken to, many of whom were trafficked from other countries, from Eastern European countries where women don't have the rights that we have here. Women don't have the protections that we have here. And those women are terrified that their names will be released in these files. The government won't know that they're victims to redact and protect them. So we ask that you please, whoever is going to be in charge of redacting these files and in charge of this transparency, do it in a way that protects the women brave enough to be here, but also protects the women who are terrified that every day when they turn the TV on, something bad is going to happen to them in Ukraine, in Russia, in whatever country they live in, because no one is listening to them there. So thank you for being here, thank you for listening, and please protect these women while we seek transparency.
Good morning. My name is Anushka DeGiorgio, and I stand before you today as a survivor of both Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. I want to thank Congressmen Massey and Khanna for their role in putting together this very, very important bill. Every day of this journey toward healing has come at a profound cost to my mental health. But I am here. I chose to come because this bill really matters.
All right, right now we need to break away from that press event where lawmakers and women who allege abuse by Jeffrey Epstein are calling for his list to be released. That rally taking place in Washington, D.C. We need to take a quick 2-minute break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We'll be right back.
My pictures looked confused. I was getting a lot of talking in my ear.
You were in action.
What?
You were in action.
Yeah.
All right, time right now is 10:49. Coming up on 10:50, I'm Jane Monreal. We thank you for watching here on Live Impact News. So as we get excited for the NFL season to kick off this week, millions of Americans are going to be placing legal bets on their favorite teams, including right here in North Carolina. The American Gaming Association projecting billions of dollars are going to be wagered for NFL games alone this season. But September also marks Responsible Gaming Education Month. So we want to bring in Bill Miller, President and CEO of the American Gaming Association. Good morning, Bill. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. So a lot of trends, and now that North Carolina is in the mix here over a year for online sports betting, let's talk about some of the sports gambling landscape here and how it's launched and now what it seems to be part of the American culture, right?
Well, first, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk a little bit about how exciting it is anytime we start the NFL season, and then what sports betting looks like as a part of that. And so you alluded to kind of trends in growth, and what we've seen, and our data shows that $30 billion will be wagered this year on the NFL season by adult Americans legally. And that's up about 8.5% from last year. And what it says is that Americans are embracing sports betting as a fun activity as part of their sports fandom. And so we want to make sure that people recognize that this is not it's not a second job, it's not an investment strategy, but it's fun and it can be done responsibly if you follow some really important kind of guidelines.
All right. So how has consumer behavior changed then since more states like North Carolina have come into the fold of legalized sports betting?
Well, first and foremost, they actually have a legal option. And it was only 2018, the only place you could legally bet on sports in America was Nevada. And so now we have 40 states, including North Carolina and the District of Columbia, that have legalized it because the states recognize their constituents were betting on sports. They just only were betting on in the illegal marketplace. So they wanted to give them a legal, safe, consumer-friendly opportunity to do that. And so we think that that's a great movement. Clearly, we now have 2/3, almost 165 million people in America have the ability to legally bet on sports. And I think it's important to kind of differentiate between legal sporting betting sites and illegal. And one of the most important ways to tell the difference between the two is when you go on a website and the only thing they ask you for is your credit card information, it's probably an illegal website, because we verify age, we verify location, we verify identity in order to make sure that the people that are using our product and are betting on our sites are, of age and who they say they are.
All right, so the American Gaming Association has a campaign, Have a Game Plan. What does that entail?
Thanks for bringing that up. That Have a Game Plan is the American Gaming Association's PSA campaign. It's intended to better educate sports bettors, particularly people that are novices or occasional sports bettors, around what are the things to make sure that you're continuing to have fun and doing this in a safe way. And it starts with, importantly, setting aside a budget and setting aside a budget for sports betting, and that you stick to that budget, that you're having fun. You recognize that, again, this is not a way to make a living. It's not a second job. And then importantly, that it's social. You do it with friends and family. And importantly, that you know the odds, you know the rules of the game, you know the types of bets that you're placing. And then importantly, that you keep your cool and you recognize that, there is definitely, you can be really excited about, being a fan. You can even be more excited when you put a little money on the outcomes of the games. But you need to make sure that you recognize that this is fun and it's not something to be upset about at the end of a game or the end of your bet. And so fan harassment, athlete harassment, those sorts of things are elements that we really want to make sure that people understand. This is a way to have fun. It's a way to enhance the sports betting experience. But if you do it, if you use haveagameplan.org and understand the elements to have fun.
All right, September, Responsible Gaming Education Month. Why is this message particularly important as we head into football season, since, of course, online betting is year-round?
Well, it's important because the NFL season and the fall sports season in general is some of the biggest areas for betting. And so it gives us an opportunity to use the month that is Responsible Gaming Education Month, September, to the new sports bettors. We want to introduce them to how to have fun, how to do it responsibly, and how to make sure that how you're betting is in line with your financial means, because we want to make sure that as we continue to see more and more acceptance across the country, we've got 9 out of 10 Americans believe that that gaming is appropriate. So we're seeing a continued mainstreaming of sports betting. But, as my grandmother used to say, moderation, moderation, moderation. We want to do these things in a manner that is part of your fun experience. And if you do that and you stick to that and you stick to a budget, you will have fun and it will enhance the opportunities that you have in the fall season with the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of new bettors, especially here in North Carolina, just over a year since it became legal for online sports betting, what is your advice to folks who are going to place that first bet? What should they know?
Well, I think importantly, know the difference between a legal and an illegal website. And as I said, one of the most telling reasons that you will see an illegal website is the only thing they'll ask you for is your credit card information. They're not going to do age verification. They're not going to do identity verification, and they're not going to do location verification. All three of those things are done with legal websites. And so you can go online and click in sports betting, and you will find legal operators, but you will also find illegal offshore online operators that, quite frankly, there's a risk that your data will be stolen, that your credit card information will be taken. And so importantly, particularly for new bettors in a state that is relatively new in sports betting, as North Carolina is, that people recognize that it's important to bet with a legal operator in that state.
All right, real quick, Bill, anything else we should know before we let you go today?
Well, again, really excited about the season. Really excited about really the embrace and acceptance of sports betting across the country, and certainly in North Carolina. And for more information, if you want to learn about how to be a smart bettor, go to haveagameplan.org. If you want to learn more about where you can bet, what are the operators in particular states, it's americangaming.org.
All right. Bill Miller, President and CEO of the American Gaming Association. I only make 50-cent bets myself there on online. Right. So part of the entertainment value for watching your favorite sports. Thank you for your time here on Live Impact News.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. All right. And speaking of which, again, we have a big-time special for you Panthers fans tonight here on WCNC Plus as well as WCNC Charlotte. The countdown to kickoff. How are the Cats going to do? We're going to find out with our team tonight at 9, and then extended coverage with our own Nick Sturdivant, Eugene Robinson, Danielle Stein, and our sports director, Nick Carboni, here on WCNC Plus tonight, tomorrow. NFL season kicks off.
It never
WCNC
stops.
Charlotte. We have Carlene wearing her Bills, her favorite team.
It's Spirit Day.
Spirit Day
so
at WCNC Charlotte.
Bills.
You got Josh's
Josh
jersey
Allen,
on.
QB1.
All right. I'm going to wear my Dolphins jacket a little bit later.
Miami.
Because it's a puffy coat.
Puffy coat.
And it's not really puffy weather.
Not yet. No.
But I'll wear it for the show. I'll wear it for the show. That's going to do it for us here today. Charlotte today is up next. Have a great day.